Hey guys, Jim Kahrs here. I want to take a couple minutes to talk to you about a misconception that I've run into too often, and that is the belief that the sale of a business is just like the sale of a piece of real estate. And I can tell you that having been through hundreds of business transactions, there's nothing that could be farther from the truth. The reality is a business sale transaction has far more moving parts that can have a considerable impact on your overall outcome than a real estate transaction. And because of this, it's really important that you understand or have somebody working with you that understands these types of transactions and works with them on a regular basis. I'll give you one example. When looking at a business sale, there's two different ways you can sell a business. You can either sell the stock of the business, where the buyer is acquiring the stock. They get all the liabilities. They basically get, everything, contracts and everything that business owns. Though most buyers don't prefer that. The majority of transactions are done under what's called an asset purchase, where they're buying certain assets of the business and the seller is retaining the stock. Now, one of the things that goes along with an asset sale is there's a requirement for what's called an allocation of the purchase price. So let's just, for argument's sake, take an example and say that you sell your business and the purchase price is $5 million. So that $5 million needs to be broken up into different components and allocated to those different components per IRS regulations. And there's an IRS form that both parties, the buyer and the seller, have to fill out and turn in with their tax returns, and they must match. So the allocation of the purchase price becomes very important. And a piece of that puzzle would involve the assets. For example, you take your fixed assets, your vehicles, your furniture and fixtures, things like that. If a buyer comes to you and says that they want to value those things at fair market value instead of book value, a lot of sellers think, well, that's great. That's a higher number. My book value is low because I've taken advantage of the bonus depreciation or accelerated 179 depreciation, and I've written those things down to where the book value is far less than the market value. However, it actually is the exact opposite. If a buyer wants to inflate the value of your fixed assets to be market value, and that's higher than book value, that actually creates a situation for a seller where you experience what's referred to as an income recapture, meaning that you now have to show new income for the differential between the book value and the market value, and that income is now taxable at ordinary income levels. Whereas in the allocation under the purchase price, if we left that value down at book value, the difference between that, now remember, whether it's market value or book value doesn't change the $5 million purchase price. It just changes how we're allocating it. So if we leave it at book value, what happens is instead of that money that's the difference between book value and market value shifting to ordinary income, that shifts to goodwill, and now it becomes a capital gain. And as a capital gain, it's taxed at almost half the rate that most people are at for their ordinary income levels. So you take that, then other things that allocation schedule would be things like a non-compete agreement. How much of the purchase price is going to be allocated to the non-compete agreement? And in that case, a seller wants that number to be as low as possible. A buyer is really kind of neutral on that. It doesn't affect them, but I've seen buyers request numbers higher than it needs to be, and a seller that doesn't know any better to even push back. It doesn't seem like it would matter, though it actually does. So again, I could spend a lot of time going through example after example after example of the differences between a business sale and a real estate sale and why there's so many more nuances to a business sale. But I think, if you follow that example, you get the point. Two seemingly simple and innocuous things like what value do we put on fixed assets and what value do we put on non-compete agreements, though they don't change the purchase price $1, can change the net that you receive after taxes considerably. So just some food for thought. And again, really just trying to dispel this misconception that a business sale is just like a real estate sale. Because bottom line, it absolutely is not. So if you have any questions, by all means, reach out. I'd love to chat with you and give you some more information. Hope to see you soon.